Many claim that XRP cannot reach the $1,000 price target, since doing so would result in a market valuation of $57 trillion. I want to address a topic that many of these folks overlook in this video, and I started off with a highly contentious viewpoint. All of that is going to be covered in this video. Thus, be sure to stay for the entire event. As always, this channel really appreciates your support. We appreciate everyone who takes the time to subscribe to the channel and like these videos. These two easy things are a huge assistance to me. Additionally, if you know of a reliable source for purchasing XRP, be sure to check out my top pick, which is mentioned in the video's description. Having said that, let's get started, and I hope you all like the material. I want to start this video by discussing a topic that is somewhat contentious and that I believe many people find offensive. For whatever reason, a sizable portion of the XRP community seems to believe that XRP will eventually displace the Federal Reserve. And they believe that the Federal Reserve is a bad organization. Even though I didn't necessarily agree with John Dion's post, I felt it was a really intriguing topic to discuss in this video, which is why I even followed this line of thought. Don't get me wrong, there are many things about the US Federal Reserve. However, one of the main misunderstandings I encounter is that XRP might eventually take the place of the Fed. This is because many people have recently stated that the Federal Reserve should be abolished because the dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power in the last 2 years. They claim that inflation is a hidden tax and that the Federal Reserve is mostly to blame for this issue. After hearing that, you most likely said, "All right, Mitchell, what do you disagree with?" This appears to be something that would be simple to support. Additionally, I believe there are a few subtle concerns that should be brought out. The first is that many individuals are always discussing the idea of replacing the existing US currency with a gold-backed dollar, an XRPSEC dollar, or something similar to XRP in general. However, I believe that one of the main things these individuals don't get is that the dollar wasn't designed to be a store of value. It is not intended to retain its value. Over time, it is expected to lose value, for the same reason that none of you want to spend your XRP. The issue with having a currency that gains value in terms of purchasing power is that nobody will want to use it. No one would want to spend their money if the dollar appreciated like any other asset. Although people would save a lot of money thanks to this, the US economy would suffer greatly since no one would want to spend money. Because of this, it's critical to comprehend the rationale behind the system's creation. Over time, the value of the US dollar is expected to decline. It contributes to the US dollar's ability to support the country's economic growth. Ultimately, this may be resolved in a very straightforward manner. Don't keep all of your money in US dollars. Don't invest your money in something that will eventually lose value, or save it. The dollar is intentionally inflated by the US at a rate of 2% every year. They strive for 2% inflation, but occasionally they get it right or on 2%. Sometimes they get it wrong to the upside, and sometimes they get it wrong to the downside. This indicates that they are deliberately depreciating the dollar by 2% annually. Now, since they're degrading the dollar by 2% over a century, it makes perfect sense that its purchasing power would have decreased by 90% over that time. Over time, those types of things accumulate. But it's crucial to realize that's what the system is meant to do. The goal is to encourage individuals to spend money. The dollar is a medium of exchange. They aren't a means of expenditure. In the end, the Federal Reserve merely occupies this role, enabling the expenditures and activities that Congress authorizes. In actuality, the Federal Reserve serves primarily as a tool. They are meant to maintain economic equilibrium in the US and ensure that our growth is neither too rapid nor too slow. They change interest rates to achieve this, but they aren't the ones who are making money. In actuality, the Federal Reserve is merely serving as an arm of Congress in this expenditure. I simply wanted to bring this up because a lot of people talk about how XRP will eventually replace the dollar, or how the dollar will either be backed by XRP or gold. Furthermore, it's critical to realize that it just wouldn't function with the current structure of the US economy. They wouldn't want to spend their cash. Spending XRP would be undesirable. The desire to spend Bitcoin is absent. This is due to the fact that these are assets that we own rather than spend. Since the US dollar is a transactional currency, its value is expected to decline over time. Additionally, it is not expected that people will save money in that transactional currency. Over time, they are expected to invest in assets like Bitcoin and XRP. In actuality, the Federal Reserve is merely the intermediate guy. In reality, they are only helping to facilitate a large portion of this activity. They are merely carrying out their congressionally mandated duties. There are numerous additional dubious aspects of the Federal Reserve. I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, it's some great organization." Believe me, they have never committed any wrongdoing. There aren't many suspicious activities. Not at all. However, I believe that you may better understand how the future financial system will function if you begin to understand why the US economy was established in the manner that it was and why the dollar is set up as an inflationary currency. The dollar being backed by gold, or something like, is not likely to happen anytime soon, in my opinion, as this would cause serious fundamental issues with the way the entire financial system functions. To bring about something similar, the system as a whole would have to fall apart and something truly break. And we simply aren't going in that way at the moment. Things appear to be going okay right now. Therefore, I believe that we will largely continue to operate under the current structure. What role do these digital assets and XRP play in the scheme of things? Ultimately, it still doesn't make sense for the dollar to remain on antiquated rails, even if the US keeps weakening the currency in the same way that it is today. In this new system, XRP and the XRP ledger function as new assets to improve the efficiency of the financial system, enhance liquidity, speed up transactions, tokenize these assets to make them easier to track, swap, and make liquid to other asset types and pairs, and enable them to reach new potentials that weren't even conceivable before tokenization, the emergence of digital currency, and digital blockchain. These are topics that are crucial to comprehend. The idea that these digital assets will completely destroy this new system, create a new dollar, and do all these other things is not very likely. We are simply too early in the cycle, in my opinion. That might occur 10, 20, or even 30 years from now. However, I believe that the primary tasks of these digital platforms at this time will be to improve the existing system, develop new liquidity sources, build new rails, and develop new investments and investment products. This is where XRP, in my opinion, truly enters the picture. And that's what Ripple has always aimed for. The Federal Reserve is not intended to be replaced by Ripple. The objective of Ripple is to develop new plumbing, rails, and tools that these big corporations may use to modernize their outdated systems. In the end, folks who like the Federal Reserve and all of these big banks aren't very interested in technology. They are only accustomed to producing and overseeing quadrillions of dollars, issuing money, and developing structured products. The tech rails are not their main concern, and that is the ideal situation for a partner like Ripple. In order to make the current plumbing function better for these legacy players, they assist in upending and reconstructing it. They are not attempting to destroy everything by tearing it apart. Many early Bitcoin efforts that aimed to totally disintermediate the system failed because of this. Due to their attempts to murder them, they lost a lot of reputation as a result. And none of the major players would ever collaborate with them. Ripple used a different strategy. They are attempting to modernize the technology and operate within the system, which is generally functioning fairly effectively. It hasn't yet disintegrated. I simply believe that people will have a better understanding of how XRP and Ripple fit into the larger picture.